Hey everyone, Phase 4 is right behind the corner as the Icecrown Citadel is already on PTR, so every balance druid should know that the Phase 4 again brings some changes to our rotation and glyphs. We already know that in Phase 4 best in slot gear, we will be going back to Insect Swarm, with glyphs of Insect Swarm, Starfall and Focus which are seeming at most DPS instead of glyph of Moonfire, Starfall and Starfire as we are used to now in Phase 3 TOGC. Now, I've done a separate video regarding the Phase 4 best in slot gear, however, since then we have found even better alternatives. So, these right here are preliminary base 4 best in slot gears for both Alliance and Horde. I'm also linking them in the description. They are pretty much the same, the only difference is in the bracers, as Horde is gonna be probably using the latest brittle bracers instead of bracers of Eternal Dreaming. To make up for the missing hit rating. Keep in mind, something still might change in the future, but it's pretty much highly unlikely at this point. So the big brains on Druid Discord are still figuring out the exact best rotation when it comes to details like, I don't know, like precasting wraps, when to refresh Insect Swarm exactly, if it's worth it to even use Gift of the Wild with 2-piece tier 10 bonus in our rotation, etc. But what we know already is that we will be literally shifting from Moonfire at max uptime and Insect Swarm unused to exact opposites. So it's gonna be Insect Swarm almost at max uptime and Moonfire pretty much unused, which should give us some room for creativity regarding talent builds as improved Moonfire is not even needed anymore. However, I was curious since it's quite a big change when comparing the Phase 3 best in slot and Phase 4 best in slot gear. The difference, by the way, is around 3.5k DPS, so it's not a small change. Somewhere along the way, while getting the new gear pieces and gearing towards the Phase 4 best in slot, we should make the shift to new rotation and glyphs. But when? When should we do it to be worth it? When we get the new idol? Or when we get the new 2-piece bonus? I don't know. Well, I wanted to figure this out mostly for myself, so I did a bit of simming on my own, and I sure did find out. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet. Keep in mind though, I was using my own settings, as my professions are engineering and alchemy. I'm also still using wild magic, for example, for pre-potting and potion of speed mid-combat, and I've done this with gtmoniq pack value of 700 for a single target fight, with duration of 180 seconds, so 3 minutes, for the Alliance with the extra 1% hit. And this is the talent build I've done the Sims just for comparison's sake, even though I'm not using and don't need Omen of Clarity in Phase 3 and will most likely shift to something else in Phase 4 to get rid of the improved Moonfire. So first of all, when we sim the Phase 3 best in slot gear in different situations, we indeed see that it's doing most DPS with glyphs of Starfall, Starfire and Moonfire, while not using Insect Swarm spell, and Moonfire spell is kept at max uptime. The same, but with Insect Swarm introduced at the start of the solar eclipse, which is called Insect Swarm Optimized in The Sims, is not far off and actually even pulls slightly ahead for slightly worse gear setups until you are not in your BiS Gear for Phase 3. We can see that the difference, well, in the Phase 3 best in slot is only around 5 DPS. So let's imagine the Phase 4 is live and we have enough emblems to make our first upgrade, and that could be the new Idol of Lunar Eclipse that can be bought in Dalaran. Well, at this point not much have changed as the new idol is only around give or take 20 DPS increase, but don't have any impact on our rotation or glyphs. So perhaps you rather opt in for one of the new tier pieces instead of the idol. Is it worth it to equip it and break the tier 9 4 set? The answer is no. It's more than 300 DPS loss, so if you can maintain your 4 tier 9 bonus, don't equip a single piece of tier 10. If you already have 2 pieces of tier 10 though, it's a solid give or take 380 DPS increase, and well worth it to break the 4 set of tier 9 to equip them to have double 2 set bonus of both tier 9 and tier 10. However, even now, it's still seeming best in Phase 3 endgame settings, so we should not change anything rotation or glyph wise even at this point. Still Moonfire at max uptime with Starfall, Starfire and Moonfire Glyphs are your best tools to dish out the most damage. What if we introduce the new Phase 4 Idol at this point? Well, now it's getting around 36 DPS increase, which is still not much, but still no impact on the rotation and glyphs, so no change even now. So let's keep the idol and let's try to go for the 4-piece tier 10 as soon as possible instead, as this gives us a massive DPS boost, more than 700 DPS when comparing to Phase 3 best in slot. So going for the new tier 10 4-set bonus should be one of the first upgrades you should aim for when Phase 4 goes live. However, regarding the rotational glyphs, surprisingly, the best results are still with Moonfire max uptime, Insect Swarm unused, while using glyphs of Starfall, Starfire and Moonfire, so still no change. So how about now we decide to spend the emblems for the idol upgrade? What does it do? Well, now it makes a solid impact. Not only the idol is now a decent 166 DPS increase, but more importantly, this is the threshold where we finally see different results in terms of DPS when using different rotation and glyphs. So when you get your hands on 4-piece of tier 10 and have already the new idol of Lunar Eclipse with it, this is the time to switch the glyphs to Starfall, Insect Swarm and Focus. Since we ditched the Moonfire glyph to Insect Swarm at this point, this changes the rotation as well, so we'll pretty much use Moonfire only on movement, and Insect Swarm will become your best friend in Phase 4, similar to Phase 1 Extremars or Phase 2 of Ulduar. And if you will be lucky and got your hands on the best in slot gear in Phase 4, you might even cross the 16k DPS line on single target, which is almost 3.5k DPS difference compared to previous phase best in slot. So long story short, seems like we stick to Moonfire max uptime and Insect Swarm unused with Starfall, Starfire and Moonfire glyphs, not only until we have 4-piece tier 10, but we need to have the new idol with it as well to change to Insect Swarm and max uptime and Moonfire unused with the Insect Swarm, Starfall and Focus glyphs. Looks like having the 4-piece tier 10 is not enough to switch, we need the new idol with it to be worth it.